Bitcoin and Ethereum are blowing up. We have liftoff. The sector is on fire between Bitcoin and Ethereum, respectively.
Hello. Welcome back to Crypto Defined, a TDR podcast division of Dale's Media Group. I'm Nicolle Hodges. And before we get started, of course, we always have to say right off the top, do your own goddamn research. This is not financial advice.
NFA.
NFA. We love this. We're interested in this. I'm a newbie, joined every week by the expert, Anthony Varrell. And between the two of us, again, we are navigating this space, enjoying most moments of it, besides me when I often feel like I'm drowning. So if that's you, then welcome. You're at home. We're in this together. Anthony, anything you'd like to add to the disclaimer?
No, I mean, it's good. It's just like we stressed. I mean, it's NFA. It's not financial advice. Everybody needs to do their own research. Don't take any of this literally. And just because we know what we're doing, it doesn't mean that you should be listening to us. You should use this as information and then base your own opinion and then execute accordingly.
Everything matters, nothing matters, and it's all free if you just want to spend the time learning.
Yep. The internet is your friend.
The internet is your friend. So last episode, we gave people a little bit of homework, and it was to go set up a wallet and the ability to buy NFTs so we can queue them up for the next step of the process, which is learning a little bit about minting, PFPs, what to look for in their NFT search. Anthony, can you just walk us through super quick, if somebody didn't catch last episode, how do they actually set up a wallet?
Yeah, so as far as the buying process, I mean, the on-ramp is pretty simple. The first square one is develop or execute on an Ethereum wallet. So open an Ethereum wallet, open a Coinbase account, be able to have an intermediary that you can actually buy cryptocurrency. And then after that step is taken, buy some cryptocurrency, whether it's Ethereum, Matic, or any of the other coins that NFTs are purchased in. And then you're going to want to download a MetaMask, which is going to be your Web3 wallet and the intermediary that you actually use to buy NFTs and plug into Web3. You're then going to transfer Ethereum into that MetaMask. And once that's done, you're off to the races. You can plug into any of the major exchanges. You can plug into companies' mint sites, which is something that we're going to go over later in the podcast. And as long as that Ethereum is in your MetaMask, you are free to transact across the web.
Okay. Now that they have that, let's assume that they're sitting there with trembling thumbs, ready to hit buy.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through what's minting?
Okay, so minting is essentially buying from the source. So if I'm a founder or if I'm having my own NFT project, the way that the actual NFTs get to market is through a minting process. So if let's just say the Bored Apes Yacht Club, I know that we keep harping on them, but I mean, they're pretty much like the blue chip in the space. They're being seen as like the supreme / like Soho house as far as branding goes and where they're going to go. So, I mean, we'll just use them as our example. So the Bored Apes Yacht Club launches a website and you can plug into that website with your MetaMask, which I just mentioned. So when their minting process goes live, you're going to see a countdown and a counter on their website, X number out of 10,000. That continues to go down until the supply is exhausted and they're all minted. So minting is essentially just buying from the originator. It's always going to be cheaper than buying secondary on Opensea or a marketplace, and it's usually going to be within the price of 0.06 Ethereum to 0.1 Ethereum. So getting in at the mint price is usually where you're going to generate the most alpha. It's not the end all be all. If you don't mint a project, you're not necessarily missing it, but it is the best point of time to get in, especially if it's a project that you or the web is quite bullish on.
Okay, and like you said, there's usually a cap. There's
always a cap.
Always a cap.
Yeah. The thing with NFTs is there's always a cap. I mean, you're going to see collections that are 5,000. You're going to see collections that are 7,000. You're going to see collections that are 10,000. Very rarely is a collection going to exceed 10,000. Why? I don't know. That's just how the sector deemed it the cap. But yes, 10,000 is going to be the cap pretty much on a collection. So I mean, these are scarce. If you're looking at it from like a stock point of view, I mean, companies have millions and billions of shares outstanding. I mean, these NFT projects, there's 10,000 shares max, and that's it. So I mean, from a supply and demand perspective, you can get a pretty good appreciation on your capital, minting and buying in the secondary if you get in early enough.
And are there any indications that people should be looking for that a project is worth like minting, like an NFT is
Absolutely.
worth minting in that? Okay, so
Yeah.
What are some of those? Because you have these people that are now going to be going into these marketplaces and going like, okay, I don't know what to look for.
Yeah, so I know that I've always harped on my background and how I got into this was starting to invest in cannabis. And I mean, as we saw the cannabis industry mature, I'm investing in companies that guys from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Johnson & Johnson are coming on board and running those companies. The NFT space, I've taken that same strategy and used it, and it's worked. So I've invested in projects and looking at things with guys from Zynga, guys from Ubisoft, guys from Sony, guys from EA Sports. These guys are coming out of big enterprise level tech companies, and they're coming into Web3. That's only one of the deciding factors that I've used, but also like evaluating the project, going into the Discord, reading the white paper, reading the roadmap. Now, to go back one step, if you can't read the white paper and you can't understand the tokenomics, there should be a lot more learning that you need to do before you purchase any of these NFTs. Because, I mean, you need to have a fundamental understanding of what these companies are actually doing. It's not just, oh, it's a cool picture, there's some hype around it, I'm going to buy it. You're going to lose 9 times out of 10 if you do that. So, I mean, getting a firm base, being able to read the white paper, being able to understand the tokenomics, and being able to understand the team from a I guess just an overall perspective is definitely imperative when you're evaluating these projects. Don't buy cool looking art. That's gonna fucking burn you in the long run, big time.
Have you had personal experience with being burned in that?
Oh yeah,
by going in that way.
Yeah, I've bought. I bought a couple of NFTs last week that were called Noundles, and I mean there was hype around it. The floor was going up. I mean, I bought them at 0.75 each. I bought 3 of them, so that was 2.25 Ethereum. They're worth 0.3 Ethereum right now. So I mean, I'm down like 90% on that. But then I also bought these wolves from this project called Wolf Game about a month ago. I bought the wolves at 1 ETH, and I sold 5 of them for over 6 ETH a piece. So I mean, you gotta ebb and flow it. If you lose, cut your bait, learn what you did, lick your wounds, and then go on to the next project.
And the Wolf Game, you bought that because you saw the hype around it. Like it wasn't that you didn't,
yes and no. I mean, that goes back to being able to read the white paper. Wolf Game is more of like a hybrid NFT / DeFi decentralized finance project, which I thought was interesting. I saw a lot of guys on Twitter starting to talk about it. A lot of the guys that are in Apes, CryptoPunks, and in the blue chip communities were buying them, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a flyer on them. I mean, they went up 6x in 3 days. So I mean, that was a good trade. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit my losses. I've had plenty of them, but the wins have vastly exceeded the losses.
And you'd say that definitely comes down to the research that you've then put into these.
Yeah. I'm not just buying things based on what anybody says. I mean, I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to doing my research, understanding the project from a fundamental perspective, and then making that decision based on that.
Well, Anthony, that's why we like you, and that's why we have this podcast.
Yeah, I mean that's what people need to know. I mean, I like I said, going back to cannabis, I mean, I saw retail guys get burned because I mean they saw every cannabis company going public and they're like, oh, that looks good, I'm going to buy that. That looks good, I'm going to buy that. Had no idea what the fundamentals were, and they got torched across the board.
Before we end this one, because we have given people a lot of information, let's just quickly touch on what PFPs are.
Yeah, so PFP is picture for profile. PFP is turning into a very how do I want to say this? A very superficial facet of NFTs. So I mean, guys that have Bored Apes, which I'm guilty of. It's everything on my Twitter handle to my Zoom. Guys that have CryptoPunks. I mean, it's like wearing a Rolex or a Patek Philippe. It's kind of like an identifier to flex on people. I mean, there was a trend a couple months back where there were these guys that were super early in a lot of things. So what they were doing is they were using Photoshop and they were superimposing like their Fidenza, which is like a $1.5 million art blocks piece, with their CryptoPunk, with their Bored Ape, and they basically had like a $6 million net like PFP that they were using on their Twitter handle. That didn't last very long, but it is what people use just to be like, oh, I was early, or I have a lot of money and I'm late. But either way, I'm part of the community. But it's also gotten me conversations with like VCs and fund guys, and I mean very successful people in crypto just by having the ape passively.
Right. Because because like you said, it's a signifier.
Yeah, it's like saying it's like saying I was an early investor in Twitter. I mean,
right.
The Bored Apes are looked at like supreme. I mean, the demand is crazy. I mean, celebs are gravitating towards it, and the IP just keeps getting used in more and more real world use cases.
So should people steer clear of PFPs? Like, should when they see those, because you said, don't just buy cool art.
Yeah,
is that essentially what it is?
I wouldn't say steer clear. I mean, if you really find a collection that you like, and I mean it's something that you're willing to lose on, but you like the IP, like by all means go ahead and buy it. But I mean, PFPs, like pure PFPs, are not going to last. That's a trend. They're getting phased out right now. I mean, at the end of the day, if NFTs don't have utility, and if NFTs aren't being applicable on a go forward basis and driving community and bringing value moving forward, just outside of aesthetic, they're not going to last. They're going to get they're going to get burned left, right, and center.
What's the timeline on that?
Probably within the next year, within the next 18 months. I mean, there's going to be probably a reckoning, just like we had with ICOs or initial coin offerings in 2017. Same thing's going to happen with NFTs. You're going to have 95% of the stuff go to zero or junk prices, and then the 5% is going to go parabolic and be the gold standard of what's really shaping the industry.
And if people can't afford, a Bored Ape, because if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, that one sounds great, let me just go purchase one of those. Holy shit!
Yeah, they're like $250,000. They're like $250,000 right now to get in at the floor.
Now, so what's really interesting is that you're saying that these are more of the projects. These are more of the established projects you actually want to look for.
Yeah.
Because when the shakeout happens, they're already setting the standard, so they won't be overruled, they won't go under. But a lot of people can't actually get one of those. So is there like a middle tier?
Yeah, I mean, there's projects like Lazy Lions, Rumble Kongs, Gutter Cats, which Gutter Cats are still pretty expensive. The floor on Gutter Cats is like 5 ETH. So I mean, you're not getting into Gutter Cats for less than 25K. But I mean, Gutter Cats, I think, are comparable to Bored Apes. Gutter Cats have community. They've got a brand. They've got a following. They've got IP. And I mean, the guys that are running the project are really, really, really good. That's like, and I mean, I hate to sound a little bit snobbish and call that entry level, since I mean, it's still 25 G's to purchase one. But I mean, yeah, that's probably one of the cheaper ones that I would look at to get in. That and MetaHero, MetaHero generative identities. I mean, you can get one of those for like 4 Ether as well. And I mean, that's a project with a rock star team moving forward.
Okay. So Lazy Lions, Gutter Cats, MetaHero, these are some of the ones that people can actually look into. Okay.
And then there's a bunch of cheap collections. There's a shitload of stuff on OpenSea you can get for like 0.1, 0.2 Ethereum. And I mean, if you like it, and it's something that you feel you're gravitating towards, and you don't mind it going to zero, by all means buy it. You're better as long as you can derive the utility out of the money you're paying for it. Go right ahead. There's no reason not to buy it.
Yeah, and again, not financial advice, but I will say getting in and just giving it a shot takes away a lot of the nerves around participating.
Yeah.
So, like maybe find one that is more in your price range and reach out. People that are behind these two are incredibly receptive to communication, right? They're actually not trying to take themselves out of the community. They're in the community. Like you're saying that you interact with the founders of Bored Apes. It's easy. It's not like they're like they're unreachable.
Oh, no.
To be unreachable.
No. I've DM'd and talked to the guys that run Pixel Vault, which are the Meta Hero guys. I've talked to the guys that run the Bored Apes. The guys that are in this space are not they're not centralized, we'll call it. I mean, as far as access to them, they're decentralized. They're open, they're out there, and they're willing to talk to anybody in the community that wants to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And then just because I want to add some female projects into this as well. A couple of the ones that I'm looking at are Fame Ladies and World of Women. Again, just gravitating towards trying to support more women-run NFT projects.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot more of them too, by the way.
Yeah, not saying to buy either, but there are lists coming out now where people are putting together all of the women-run projects and saying, like, check these out. I think Crypto Chicks is another one.
Yep. There's a bunch.
So, yeah. So I'll also tweet that out along with this episode, so you can go through that and you can take a look for yourself. And really, the bottom line is do your own research and find what resonates with you and just get involved.
Yep. Definitely do your own research. Cannot stress that enough.
Okay. Thank you guys. This was another episode touching on NFTs. Next week, we will touch on them briefly, but we're going to move on to talk a little bit more about DeFi and get you familiarized with some more of the language in this space.
Yeah,
Anthony,
we can't wait to cover the all-encompassing metaverse.
Yeah, there we go. All right, see you guys.
Bye, guys.